There he is. G'day, everyone. How the devil are we? Oh, what's going on there? Got rain and lots of it, so it's very noisy on my roof. Can I get, if you can hear the rain through my microphone, please let me know and I shall endeavour to do something about it. My biggest issue clearly will be that I potentially will need headphones on during the thing. I can hear a kookaburra as I speak, Monica Lynn, and hello, Monica Lynn. Put that down, worry about that later. Pardon me. Let's do some g'days. I believe My little Kiwi brother Joel G, first cab off the rank. Another bucket of kudos for your collection coming out to you, Joel G. Big D, how's it going? Paddy, how are you? James H, how are you, Mr. Hookulak? Who is in the doctor's lair? Indeed, Paddy, who indeed may turn up today. Could be 17 people, could be 19 people, could be just one or two. Hi and bye, Chevy, thank you. Yeah, timing always seems not the best for Chevy. I kick off right around Chevy's bedtime. Mary Page, how are you, love? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping back. Brothers, Mr. Kragos, how are you? GRB, g'day, mate. Moderator extraordinaire. And Monica Lynn, I said hi to you. Yeah, loads of kookaburras around at the moment, like I said. One of the most annoying times of year is when the kookaburras have babies. Mainly because one of the most annoying sounds on the planet is a baby kookaburra learning to do kookaburra type noises. So there's a bit of that going on. But yeah, they're all probably sitting in a tree, huddling away from the rain. It's been pretty wild weather. On and off. Non-stop rain, hot, sweat, rain, hot. Tim Carter, g'day, mate. New name, Geek Boy, not Greek Boy. Couple of new names, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen. Did I say hi to Dragonlair? Oh, Dragonlair's got an early kick-off too, probably already in bed by now. One day I probably have told the story about the how I constructed the lyrics to that song, Paddy. I don't know if you've heard the story before, but yeah, you know, there's always a decent reason to tell that story. Vinoxky, how are you? Pugamus, how's it going? Fish keeping Jamaica. G'day, FKJ. How are you, man? Mon. Everything be airy, brah. I hope that wasn't, you know, terrible cultural appropriation. Nice one, Geek Boy. Welcome aboard. Fishy Mon, how are you? Oh, crikey. I do believe I've had the first jump off chat for the morning or afternoon. Sorry, it's well into the afternoon now. And Santa is here. Ooh, 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 ooh. Mr. Fish, sir. Hello, Brad. How are you, man? Good to see you. Bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and bushy-haired. Yeah, I didn't bother about brushing it. This weather goes nuts on my hair. Makes it go crazy as if it's not crazy enough already. Does that mean that the rain is coming through the microphone, Craig, or it just sounds the idea is good? We've certainly had our fair share in the last few days. Yeah, I'm going to have to don headphones. No way in hell I'm going to hear dialogue between humans without speakers close to me. Hammer, anvil, timpani, all that stuff. Tympanic membrane, whatever they call it. Yeah, plenty, FKJ, plenty. But without further adieu, without farewells from France. And let me work out some crap and bring this dude up.
Oi! 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 I'm TNT. I'm Dynamite. What's up, dude?
You know, bit of wet weather. Quite a bit of wet weather.
Is it moist?
Man, it is so moist. Even the
quite moist. Yeah, it was raining a lot here today too, my dude.
Even the drops of sweat on my balls have their own drops of sweat.
Drops of sweat plus drops of sweat. Sweats on sweats on sweats.
Is
Hey, what's happening other than the rain? It was raining pretty hard here today too, dude.
Man, we've had like 5 days of torrential rain and massive wind. I think we had maybe a cyclone or something out in the ocean that might have been, you know, causing us lots of wind and stuff.
A cyclone, huh?
Yeah, maybe. Or some other type of weatheral disturbance.
Weather. Plus weather.
So much water, instant flooding, got puddles everywhere, paddocks have become lakes. And of course, that then means that the only subject matter you get in conversation with people is rain.
Yeah,
humans do love talking. Yeah, they love talking about the weather, don't they?
Yeah, it rains out here a lot. You know, it gets fervently moist.
Fervently moist. That's a good name for a band. G'day S, Chattanooga Ed. How are you, Redbeard and Tampa Tom, and Zip Gun,
and Zip Gun, and Chattanooga, and Tampa Tom.
They're all rolling in. All the cool people are here now.
They're coming in hot and fresh.
What was the one? Temperately moist. I'm gonna have to remember that. I'm gonna make some weather songs and call the band Temperately Moist. Yeah. Apart from that, not a lot. Not a lot. Just jobs, stuff. Still trying to get rid of my old car. The dude who was going to come and pick it up apparently is quite busy. Oh, it's hard to do air quotes on this screen arrangement, isn't it? Oh yeah, we've changed. Last week we're all actually every time we've always been out here, haven't we?
Out here wide.
Yeah.
Do we want to be wide or do we want to be up close? I don't know.
Let's experiment with up close because we just never do it.
Let's see how it feels. Does it feel good? Does it feel good for you?
Does it feel bad if we just stare into the camera at people and be quiet? Would that freak people out? I don't know. What do the viewers prefer? Probably more animation. Oh, for a minute, I actually thought you'd frozen. Then you were doing so good at stillness.
I was being so incredibly still.
Super still.
'Twas unbelievable. Yeah. So it's a Tuesday here. It's Wednesday where you're at.
It is.
Right.
It's good we're establishing the groundwork.
The future. You're in the future.
I am the man of the future.
Today's Tuesday, so today's the my little community. I buy a lottery ticket on Tuesdays, so
yes.
I figure I should ask you, hey, since you're in the future, did I win?
Well, do you want the good news or the bad news?
I'll take the bad news first.
You didn't actually put your ticket in properly. It was a faulty entry.
Oh.
But they because you so earnestly wanted to win, they gave you a conciliatory prize.
The consolation.
Yeah, they gave you a 6-month subscription to the World Today.
Ooh, what's the World Today? Is that like a magazine?
No, not to be confused with the magazine. It's a postcard service where you receive once a month. You receive a random postcard from somewhere around the world.
That's absolutely depressing. I don't want that. I shall deny.
Lucky it's all just a lie. A fervent lie.
A fabrication, if you will.
Indeed. It was fabricated from not the depths of my mind. Just
that would be a weird prize to get, realistically, where they're like, yeah, we just send you some extra mail. You know, yeah, we just send you some extra mail, and you have to go get it out of the mailbox.
Yeah, you didn't win a prize where you could afford to go and travel to all these places around the world, so we'll rub it in your face a little bit that you didn't win money.
We'll just leave some stuff in your mailbox for you. Go get it.
But yes, I honestly wish I could be the deliverer of that news, if only our future worked that way.
It would be helpful.
It would be very helpful.
I'd be like, hey, you know. So as one of the things that I do around about these parts of the world, I pretty regularly keep an eye out on some of the prospective properties that come up for sale. So I have like the automated listings that go up as comparables in the area that I live in, right? So the little loop-de-doo area that I live in, so we can keep track of the housing market. And then I also have recommended comps that get sent to me.
What does that mean? Like things that sort of fit in?
Yeah, comparables. Yes. And then, but that's not very fun. That's all just kind of boring homework stuff. Just, you know, homeowner, do some homework, keep track of that stuff, right? Probably not as important in Australia as it is in the U.S. I'm sure it's important in Australia to some degree, but probably not as important in the U.S. But the fun part is that I like to hop on there from time to time and look at those dream locations, you know, where you're like, oh, that's how the other half lives. My Lord. They have 3 toilets inside 1 bathroom. Oh, you know, you're like, what the hell? Yeah. And I looked at one the other day, and unfortunately I was like, wow, that is the epically perfect property for me. And yeah, it's $1 million, so that's not going to happen. But it's very interesting.
The way the real estate market is around where I live, your $1 million might get you a 3-bedroom house with an ensuite, maybe if you're lucky, a second bathroom.
Oh, really?
It's terrible here. G'day, Thirsty. How are you, mate? Yeah, like there's these 2 brand new houses have just been built on 1 block. So it's like 2 houses crammed into a 1/4 acre. And they are being rented out, or trying to be rented out, for $895 a week.
And a week?
A week. 3-bedroom houses.
That's thick. That's thick and rich, my brother. That's wild.
This is what happens when you get all your American celebrities choosing to move to your area. All these people coming out of Hollywood.
And right, because you got like the Hemsworth is down there. And I saw an interview the other day that they're shooting the Thor movie down there or something. Yeah. Which I thought was weird. Like, what? They're shooting it all the way in Australia. Like, okay.
Well, there's fairly big movie productions goes on up the Gold Coast, which is not too far away from here northwards.
Right.
And yeah, we get a lot of spillage of you know, what do you call it? Those people who go and look for places to film.
Mm-hmm.
Location scouts, I believe, is what I'm after. So yeah, we've had a lot of films and stuff filmed around here. Actually, yesterday there was there's a TV show that's made for Stan called Sea Change, and they film a lot of that here in Mullumbimby. They use the the courthouse and the police station here is the police station for whatever town they call it.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, about once a month we get this whole shebang of trucks and fancy portaloos set up in town for your massive Australian TV stars to sort out their stuff in. But yeah, lots of cinema stuff and music people. Do you know, are you familiar with the band The Tea Party? From like the 90s, lots of eclectic sounds, but
you know what?
Big
I'm
stadium.
Not. I'm not. I'm familiar with the Tea Party
from the 1800s.
Yes, I was at that one. It was wild, I'm telling you.
Yeah, you know, there's people from all walks of celebrity that live around here, and Jeff, the singer from the Tea Party, they were huge in the 90s. I'm sure many people would remember them. Canadian band, there you go. Brothers is all over it. Yeah, Jeff, the singer, he's a local here now.
Let's see who was in that band. Let's see.
It was only a trio. I only know Jeff Martin, I think his name is. But yeah, lots of sitar-y sounds and mandolins and stuff. Really cool sound.
Surroundy sounds.
But yeah, still massive big stadium guitar stuff as well.
Jeff Martin, Jeff Burrows, and Stuart Chatwood.
There you go. Now you know more about them than I do.
No, I know nothing. Yeah, I don't know if I'm wildly into that kind of sitar-y, surroundy, chill stuff.
Oh, it's not that chill. I think they just use it for little doses of eclecticisms here and there.
That's too chill. That's too vibey, bro. It's too much vibe. You know. I need some metal. I need some get it going. You know what I mean? Get it going. I can take a nap, dude. I love somber, chill music. Don't get me wrong. I'm not playing that down, but I could take a nap. I don't need that. I don't need help with the nap. You know what I'm saying? Like the nap is just like I'm gonna sit down, I'll fall asleep. So I like a little giddy up. I like some intricacy. I like some wildness. Because why not? You know. Not sure why I subscribed to this channel, but it came up on the feed, and here I am. Nice to see Corvus here. Well, there you go.
Well, there we go, indeed.
There it is.
That's why you're here, Michael Boulos.
That's the money. That's the money right there. You don't know why? You don't know why you're here, but you like it. Right? That's what I'm talking about.
My Corvus brings all the boys to the yard.
All the boys. All the boys. Fully milkshaked. I'm going to close that window of the Tea Party band because I'm, you know what? I was going to listen to some of their songs, but realistically, I don't care.
No, you want some.
I probably will tomorrow. I'm sure. Let's be honest here. The computers can hear us talking. And so tomorrow, as soon as I open YouTube, it's going to start playing. You'll have tracks.
Four videos lined up by the Tea Party.
Right.
What about
Oh, this is normal. This is my normal playlist. Google Alexa.
What about the band The Contortionist?
That I think I'm more familiar with.
Yeah, I know you said the word metal, and they're certainly not sleepy metal. No. Very technical, crazy stuff. I like it.
Oh, speaking of metal, and speaking of the computer robots listening, the guy from oh crap. Oh, I can't remember the name of the band right now. It escapes me, but he played his own song on Twitch. It's a song from Guitar Hero. It's like the really hard song from Guitar Hero.
Dragon Force.
By Dragon Force. There we go. It was the Fire and Flame. He played the Fire and Flames live on Twitch. Right?
Yeah.
It's his song from his band. it's him playing it on Twitch, and he got DMCA'd. He got kicked off of Twitch for playing his own song. He got a copyright strike and got DMCA'd for playing his own damn song on there.
Classic.
So funny. Like, oh, come on, dudes. Like, that's yep. Well, I don't see an option to put in that like you're in a band and that you should know that you're in the band, but people are going to start petitioning for that now, and then there's going to be all these people that like they're going to put in that they're in the Rolling Stones or whatever.
We were talking about copyright strikes in that last week, weren't we?
Were we? I don't know if we were. I think maybe we were. It comes up. It comes up from time to time.
Yeah, I got when I used to do this show with my girl Sarah, and we used to play songs, like a couple of guitars, and we'd sing along and stuff. We got quite a few copyright pings just for singing covers,
right?
And not necessarily that well, but yeah, we got quite a lot of those little messages where YouTube says, because he used someone else's music, if this ever goes monetized, they will get the profits. It's like, just want to play some songs for the people, not trying to make money out of it. But yeah, how did we get onto that subject? That's right. Rich people moving into the area, gentrifying the countryside and making it very difficult for people of a normal financial situation to get a residence. We have a massive issue in this shire at the moment with people sleeping in their cars all over the place.
Oh, because of how expensive everything is.
Yeah, people just can't. You go to check out a rental property, and there's 60 to 100 people there, all trying to do the same property, and they might ask $600-700 a week for a shitty little house, and people who are a little bit more financially solvent than others might offer an extra $20 or $30 to secure the place. So you got a lot of, single mums or other struggling people having to sleep in their cars wherever they can find a spot. There is it's supposed to be like $1,500 fine or something for camping in a unauthorized place.
Right.
But I think they've they may have eased off on that while the housing crisis is going on here, because
well, yeah, I mean, that's like one of those situations where you go like you go somebody's homeless or whatever, so you're gonna charge them money for being homeless. It's like they don't like first of all, like now they're a criminal, right? Because they most likely can't pay. I mean, I'm not to assume whether or not somebody can pay or not, because I don't know, but like they can't pay, so then it turns into a crime because now they haven't paid for the crime of being a person who doesn't own a house or have a place to live inside of. It's a cluster of stupidity, and the thing is, we know how to fix it. We all know how to fix it. We're not stupid. We're smart. We need to build places for people to live that don't suck. Regardless of who you are, you don't want to live somewhere that sucks. That's a plain, simple reality of being a human. And if we need more places where the people can go live in, then we need to build more of them. In the United States, I don't know how many times I've had this conversation with people that like, you have to realize that the stuff that's here wasn't here 100 years ago. You know what I mean? Like all of these buildings and roads and all this crap that's here, it wasn't here 100 years ago. There was nothing here. There was the ground and trees. That was it. And they're like, well, where'd it come from? And in the U.S. now, see, I'm no expert on, Australian history or like what the hell happened in Australia. I know some, but I'm definitely a million miles from being an expert. But like in the United States, the U.S. government like subsidized doing all of these suburban building projects and building houses and it's basically like a 0% interest loan to just start building houses for these companies, and I don't know about Australia, but in the United States they were segregated, right? And people try to act like this was a million years ago or something, and it's like 80 years ago, like there are people that are still alive when that was going on. It's not that long ago, and we don't do those kinds of big projects that just make a monumental change in the U.S. anymore. I know that Australia isn't that, geopolitically, it's not that different from the U.S. It's like you have the hyper conservative weirdos, and then you have the hippy dippy liberal weirdos, right? That they're all kind of battling back and forth, and you sort of end in the middle ish stuff, which, we just don't do any of that giant stuff anymore where they just go, build 30,000 houses, like, which they used to do that. They did that stuff in the U.S. They did that stuff in the teens and 20s. They did, the 30s was the Great Depression, but the Great Depression brought on all the jobs programs and all that stuff that came into place. It was done in the 40s. It was done in the 60s. It was done in the 70s in the U.S. Like this was done so many times, and we're at a point now, in my opinion, where we have to do it again.
I agree.
And the thing is, like, as Michael says, like, especially in the for-profit system in America, we have a whole lot of weird stuff going on here. But my thing is that, like, I think that we should start implementing some of those big projects again and just start doing that stuff. And they always say, like, well, how are we going to pay for it? And it's like, $1.4 trillion a year goes into our military spending. They take some of that and start doing it. How about
a little bit? Just take a wee tiny bit.
How about instead of 1.4 trillion, how about 900 billion? And then we take 500 billion and we just start building houses or something.
It seems just so simplistic and obvious, doesn't it? It's a shame.
Right.
Political.
Well, my biggest thing is that, like, we need to stop hiring military contractors. People have asked me, like, well, how do we resolve this giant military budget? Almost all of it is not discretionary spending. It's all the stuff over the top where like military contractors are being paid. And in America, we call them contractors. They're mercenaries. They're hired soldiers.
Yeah, exactly.
They're hired soldiers that don't have any rules, right? If we send a U.S. soldier, we send in a sergeant with 7 soldiers underneath him, and we're like, go out there and go see what's going on 10 miles from here and then come back, right? Like, all those U.S. military servicemen have to follow laws, rules, regulations, and if they don't, they go to jail, they go to prison. In a lot of cases, you end up in prison if you're doing something. Whereas the military contractors, there's no rules for those guys. They just give them a check and they're like, go out and do crazy stuff. Here you go.
And they probably earn a hell of a lot more than a soldier following the rules too.
Oh yeah, it's tons more.
Just to
stuff like that, where I'm like, why aren't we just building houses? Like, who, like, why don't we just start doing it?
No. G'day to Abolished Aquatics and Mickham and Fish Tropic and Total Tropicals TV.
Oh my God, S is here. What's up, S?
S as well. I know I said hi to S earlier.
Oh.
We actually have a situation in Australia at the moment where a bunch of war crimes, I suppose, they're being touted as, that have been committed by Australian soldiers, not necessarily just the army, but different branches.
Right.
Stuff's been going on where they've done bad things. They've been caught on camera, and now they're like stripping these dudes. Some of them have got medals of honor and all that kind of gear.
Right.
Some of them are being stripped posthumously, like dudes have died, and now they're going, "No, we're going to take that person's medal away as well." So yeah, very, very accountable when you're in the ordained military, if you want to call it that, as opposed to mercenaries, like you say. They're a world unto their own, sort of, aren't they?
It's very weird. It's very weird. Like, and a lot of the stuff in the United States that, all of the bad stuff aside and the good stuff aside, all that stuff, just don't even worry about it. The propaganda side of it in the US just blows my mind. It's like we used to have two different, we used to have the Department of War. We used to have the Department of War, and we used to have the Department of Defense, which was just our standing troops. Like, that one wasn't really named. It was just like, oh, these are the Homeland Troops, or whatever the name was for it. And they renamed everything under the umbrella of the Department of Defense. And you're like, here we are 70 years later, and everyone thinks that that's completely normal. And you're like, this isn't normal. Like, they've tricked you with just like wordsmith, stuff. And it's very weird to me. It's very, it's calculated, to like move people's opinions a certain direction and stuff. And I'm not somebody that thinks that we should abolish the military or anything crazy like that. I think that's nuts. But, we definitely need to stop the overspending on stuff that's unaccountable. That's my big problem, is like,
just rein it in a bit.
Well, it's a thing. Like, if they say, well, we have we only have 300,000 Marines, and we need more to do the stuff that we need to do. And it's like, well, okay, you need to get more Marines. Then you can't just get rando dude. Like, you just can't. Sorry. Figure out how to get more legitimate soldiers if there is stuff that you legitimately need to do. If not, then don't do it. But the problem is now it's all just turning into mechanized, laser strikes from space. They're shooting laser beams from the moon, which reminds me of Star Wars. So
nice segue. Oh no,
yeah,
it's too early yet. Tennessee hydrogen dioxide. Welcome.
Yeah, dihydrogen oxide.
Dihydrogen oxide, is it? I said
it's
it wrong.
A dangerous liquid. Dangerous. How'd you feel? How'd you feel about the most recent Bill Burr? And oh yeah, spoiler alert, in case we spoil something for somebody. But if you haven't watched the most recent episode of The Mandalorian, we will probably hit highlights of it. And if you haven't watched it, it came out 5 days ago. So
where were you?
Where were you? Where we at? Where at?
Oh,
where at?
Blake,
you can watch it mobile, dude. Where you at?
Blake says he's watching it as we speak.
Oh, okay. Well,
we're about to chuck some spoilers out. Oh, Monica, no, still the Oscar and the Gibbiceps in the tank behind me.
Our spoilers are not as good as watching the show, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, we dance around a bit. Unlike last week, goodness, I almost fled from the topic, didn't I?
Oh, we have API general cure if I have some pregnant guppies. Yeah, generally speaking, yes. API general cure is generally fine with pregnant guppies. I've never had problems with live bearers and general cure personally. So, the general rule of thumb I would normally say is like should be fine. So anyhow, back to the Mandalorian, right?
Yes, yeah. I mean, it is always good. We are fish people to
We are fish
occasionally.
people. If I see fish thing, I got to answer. We got to answer it. Yeah,
We will do
Gotta
that.
make
But in response to Paddy and I think it was Michael Boulos before saying, let's talk about fish. It kind of is a topic that we don't necessarily do a hell of a lot of on here, but if it comes up, we'll dive in a little bit.
yeah, we definitely, we do our best. It's really hard to have, fresh breaking news in the fish keeping hobby. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my, did you know 9 years ago, a brand new plant was brought in?
It's so much easier just to cast dodgy spoilers out there. Perth Cichlids, g'day Jace, thanks for the thumb.
Well, the thing is, like, we're in the Mandalorian season right now, so we probably won't talk about it in like 3 weeks. But we're topical,
I also heard before we talk about the episode that season 3 will not be hitting our screens until December next year.
That sounds right. Probably, I would expect.
Pretty hefty weight compared to the weight between season 1 and 2, but I guess it's exactly the same thing that happened with the boys.
I think it was 1 year, right?
No,
because it was the end of last year when The Mandalorian came out, right?
Was it really?
I think it was the end of last year because I remember Randy at the co-op was talking about it this summer about how it was going to come out. And then it came out. And I think that was, I don't know, I'll check it real quick.
Maybe it's just because this year has been such a blur. Just disappeared so fast. But yeah, it was. I thought it was fantastic. I know they teased last week about Bill Burr's
November
character.
12th, 2019.
That's when it first started.
Yeah, November 12th, 2019. And then this one came out November 2019. So maybe that's why they're thinking it's a big deal. Like, oh, it's going to be a couple weeks late in December.
Yeah, no, I suppose my thing is probably that I think I watched season 1 so many times over that 12 months,
right?
That it probably seemed a lot closer to me.
Yeah,
it was just me going, oh, so long to wait, but in essence, it's pretty much the same period of time to wait. But yeah, it was very good to see Bill Burr's character make a comeback.
We got to get a little sidebar here. Total Tropicals TV says, what if? I don't know if you want me dropping F-bombs on here.
It's all right. We're past 15 minutes in. Apparently 15 minutes is
so it's normally pronounced WT fuck, right?
Correct.
Happened to Stranger Things. And to anybody out there who's like hoping for more Stranger Things and stuff like that, it will come out. But you got to remember, like, that is such an intensive it's such an intensive process to make a season of that show. Like the way that it's filmed, the practicals that they do, all of the actors that they have to coordinate, the CGI post-production stuff is forever, like with Stranger Things. So I would just be patient. 100% that they're making it. Last time I looked it up, they were like, yeah, we're COVID, blah, doobie-doo. With the Disney Mandalorian, I know that you and I I've brought it up in the past. If you go look at the behind the scenes with Jon Favreau and the Mandalorian production, like how they were producing it, it's one of the reasons they have 6 different directors for every season, is that you have directors working on individual episodes so they can actually shoot in succession really quickly, because you go one director and then with the 2 or 3 weeks in between, the other director's getting prepped for their episode. So when it comes time to do each episode, like each director comes in and is ready to go with their shot list and practicals and anything that wasn't ready and all that kind of stuff. And the methodology that they is that right? Methodology? I don't know if that's the right word. The method that they're utilizing to shoot The Mandalorian itself, it's inside this it's basically just a black screen tent. So it's a blacked out tent where they project the backgrounds. Most of the backgrounds that you see in The Mandalorian are actually projections into the background live. So they do these live projections, and then they do these small little stages of practical space that the actors are working in, like the stuff that they're standing on. And then everything that's going on behind them is a projection from all these projectors that are basically creating a 3D projection that moves around behind them, which gives them the opportunity to, like, 1 minute they're on a spaceship, and then a half an hour later, they move out the stage that's on the ground. They slide it out. They slide in the next one. They switch the projectors to be projected. Now you're on a spaceship, right? And then half an hour later, you're on a sand dune planet. Then a half an hour later, you're on a jungle planet or whatever. So it's very, it's very interesting how they've been able to navigate through COVID and stuff, because they don't have like these giant crews that are all having to work and intermingle with each other constantly in order to produce the show, just like how Stranger Things is. You see Stranger Things, it looks like more of a traditional set with just all the people and the trailers and stuff, and then you got to go shoot somewhere on scene. And I think we saw with like how frustrating waiting for Game of Thrones was, right? With all these, they had all these giant practical stages, and they're shooting in like New Zealand, and like one of the seasons was delayed because there was no snow where they were going to shoot, and you're like, you're literally counting hundreds of millions of dollars on whether or not it snows where you set up the camera. It's like take the cameras and stuff and go where there's snow or something, so but
BJ Palmer, hi BJ, how are you? One of our Star Wars stalwarts. Oh, Mr. Fish Sir says he watched Star Wars 2 and 3. I'm assuming you mean the two movies, number 2 and number 3. I actually watched episode 2 3 days ago, and then I watched Revenge of the Sith the night before last, because I just finished. Oh, there's your kookaburras, Monica, if you can't hear them. I don't know if they're coming through the microphone, but they're rowdy. I just finished yet again watching the Clone Wars, and I needed to go back through episode 2 and 3 to try and line up when the stuff that was happening towards the end of the Clone Wars was happening in the movies. So it was good to do. But yeah, you can certainly, like you say, with the style of production that they use for The Mandalorian, it certainly facilitates rapid production of something that, 10, even 5 years ago might have taken an extra 2 years to produce. Pardon me. Are we all still here? Yes, good.
Yeah, we're all still here. Sorry, I was copying and pasting the production set, because BJ said it's not a projection, it's a LED screen, but it's actually a rear projection into a LED screen. So yes, I mean it is a projected screen. Yes, it is a LED screen. It's kind of a combination of both, but yeah, I mean, sorry. So when I was talking about it, I always just kind of explain to people like, yeah, it's a projector, because people just kind of understand that like in their mind. But yes, it is. It is. LEDs are incorporated in it. But yeah, but it is really cool. Anyhow, regardless, the style of how they formatted the production has allowed them to continue doing production, which is really cool. So that to me is like, oh my god, how do you deal with a pandemic? You come up with just a whole new process of making the show.
Doing everything. Hello, Crystal, and hello, Nola Jane. How are you, ladies? Good to see you. Thank you for showing up. Yeah, revolutionary, and good on them for keeping it up. Maybe they could sell the technology onto Stranger Things production company.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it seems to be. I did see something that somebody was saying that there was a crew. Like, I think that they're allowing the company. What is it? It's like something in light. It's like magic and light or something or whatever. They're allowing it to be
industrial light magic.
Industrial light, yeah, something like that. I think you're right. I'm just saying I don't remember the 100% the name of the place, but I did hear a rumor that they're being allowed to sell it to other, incorporate it into other productions like that aren't Disney, So
yeah,
we'll see. I don't know. It's very exciting to somebody like me that goes like, oh my god, like there's a camera that came out recently that I'm literally like drooling over, right? And normally, like some kind of piece of equipment like that comes out that I drool over is like, well, that's like $70,000 or something, right? And the reality is, it's that makes me laugh. Tropical TV. It totally got me sidetracked. I read that and it made me laugh in my head. Anyhow, but this camera that came out is only like $5,500, right?
We'll see you soon, Total Tropicals TV.
And you're like, oh my god, the technology is getting to a point where an average person, $5,500 is not a drop in the bucket or anything like that, but if you're talking about going from 75,000 to 5,500, 75,000 is not an attainable number, right? But 5,500 is like, man, well, I mean, you save $500 a month for a year. It's doable,
And no doubt you can do some pretty impressive stuff with it.
It's pretty wild, man. I don't know. To me, that gets me excited because, like in the movie industry, the thing that's been driving me crazy for the last 10 years at least has been that those middle of the road production movies that are like a $30 million budget or an $80 million, $70 million, $50 million budget, just kind of those middle production movies, they just don't really exist anymore. There just isn't that many. And it's like indie films they have like $5 in the bank, or it's $300 million, Marvel movie, Wonder Woman, right? And it's like, if you're somebody who's like, if you don't have a bunch of movies under your belt, like Taika Waititi, right? He's doing some of the episodes of The Mandalorian, so it's kind of topical. But like Taika Waititi probably wouldn't be where he's at right now if he didn't get a couple of those middle of the road movies and they were good, right? It probably would have never happened. If he had to go from whatever that goofy show that they made, and then
What We Do in Shadows.
Yeah, I can never remember the name of the show.
Well, it's not exactly the shortest.
But to like try to go from that to Thor Ragnarok, right? Like no one's gonna make that jump. No one's gonna sign off on you going to be the director of like a $200 million movie that with that little history.
With that as your only thing on your resume. Yeah, he must have shown some promise.
And now Tennessee H2O is asking me a question here. It says, are you going to go to Peru with Corey when the pandemic is over? No. chances are no. Would I like to go to Peru? Sure. Yes. I'm sure it would be a difficult but wonderful trip. I would love to go do it. Am I going to spend? I believe it costs about $7,500, between $7,500 and $9,000 to go on that trip. You know, with the plane tickets, with the lodging, with all of the travel, all that stuff. It's going to cost about that much money to go. I don't know about you guys. I don't have that kind of money. And if I did have $7,500 for travel, personally, what I would do is I would find a cheap ticket to Australia. I would find a cheap ticket to Florida. I would find a cheap ticket to Michigan. I'd find a cheap ticket to Netherlands. Like last time I went to Netherlands, it was total. I think in total, the whole trip was about $1,500. So, I mean, I could go to Netherlands like 4 times and still
change.
I'd still have like $3,000 left, you know. So as much as I would love to go to Peru, like budget wise, I go, like, me being like a small potatoes guy, I'm like, dude, if I'm going to spend that money, I need to do more things with that money. So as much as I would love to go to Peru, it would be fantastic, but it is a very expensive trip. You know, I know that I think the first time Dean went, he and I were talking about that a while ago. I mean, I think we were talking about like 3 years ago or something. Dean and I we all went out to dinner and we were talking about it. But he was talking about the first time he went to Peru, he was basically saving for years and years and years and years. It was like his dream, his life dream, to go to Peru, catch fish, and bring them back.
Yeah, it's a bit different if it's a bucket list thing to do, isn't it?
If it's a big bucket list thing, like, you know, I mean, I get it. You know, the thing for me is like I would go. So, for instance, I would go to Australia in the off season, right? I would find the cheap tickets during Australia's off season and go down to Australia like in July or something, right? When everyone's like, well, the weather's going to suck, you know.
It's actually better weather in July than in the peak season when everyone just wants to go and sweat on the beach.
Right, but that's the thing. Like I would go to Australia when it was the off season, when the tickets are cheap. I would probably sit in the crappy part of the airplane and just meditate and just stay in my seat, like, and just focus on letting the time go by. You know, it's one of those things. Like you fly to Europe, you go on these long, you know, you're on a flight for 13 hours or something. You know, it's like, you know, to me, it's like, if the ticket's going to be like, let's say the ticket's going to be $900 or $6,800, you know, it's like I just end up taking the cheap seat and just sit there and just try to zone out, get to the end of the workday, flying in there in an airplane, and go there and try to film as much as you can. It's really difficult to try and travel and film at the same time, especially because almost every place you go to, you don't have any time there. You don't know where you're going. You don't know any of the people that you're going to see, because almost all fish keepers are like shut in, you know, antisocial people. Like even myself, like minus COVID, I might have over like a couple of people here and there, but most of them aren't even fish keeper people. They're just like people that I socialize with, you know. So it's like it's one of those really weird interactions where you go to somebody's house and they have like an extensive fish room, right? So somebody to have an extensive fish room means that they've worked on it, right? Which means that they've spent a lot of time working on it. That means that they're not out like networking. They're not out at the cocktail hour like, hey, let's bougie McBouge. Let's go to the beach. You know, like they're normally like in their fish room working on something. So You kind of go there, you sort of invade their space. You've never really been there. You've never been there before. Even if they're like the most hospitable person, it's like it's gonna take a couple hours to like walk around, look at everything, talk to these people you've never met before, kind of get to know them. Try to film while you're trying to get to know somebody. You're like setting up tripods and like pulling out microphones and getting out lenses, trying to figure out what's going on, try to figure out the lighting in there, because the lighting is always the most insanely bad. It's the worst. Like nobody's fish room is set up to be filmed in. They aren't. They just aren't. It's all reflective glass with like bright lights behind the tank shining directly at the tank, so all you see is a bright reflection. And it's a lot. And then it's like, well, we got to go to the other place. And you're like, oh crap. I've got 23 minutes of the worst footage you've ever seen. Right. So it's very, it's a very wild thing. And, honestly, if, Corey, myself, Dean, let's see, Randy went on one of them. I don't know. I've talked to all of those guys, and from my perspective, it's like you make an assessment of, okay, that trip's going to cost like, let's say you get like a deep discount. It's going to cost like $5,000. By the time you get back with all the footage that you have, you start to piece all the footage together, and you've got like 3 or 4 YouTube videos that do however well. Like maybe they do okay, maybe they don't do okay. But like on my channel, the expectation for a video, if I put up a new video, it's going to get, the expectation is that it's going to get between 2 and 10,000 views, right? Anywhere in that range. Sometimes they go over, and sometimes they don't even hit 2,000. But if I'd spent $5,000 to make a couple of YouTube videos, right? If a video I have gets 10,000 views, it'll probably make like $40 or $50. It'll make like 40 or 50 bucks, and I have to pay taxes on that too, because that's income, and I'm an independent. I own my own business, so I have to pay my business taxes. And it's it's one of those things that, like, okay, let's say I make 5 videos that do really well and they make $50, and you're like, rad, those videos made $250, but you spent $5,000 to do it.
Yeah, you'd want to get some other benefits out of it.
Well, it's definitely like, it's just a losing proposition. Plus, like, if I go to Peru, I can't take my family members with me. I can't take Olivia with me. I can't take Vicky with me. You're going to be gone for 2 weeks, which means you aren't going to work the whole time. So unless you have paid vacation saved up or whatever, in the U.S., that's your whole year's worth of vacation time. 2 weeks.
So essentially what you're saying is that the list of cons for a trip to Peru definitely outweighs the list of pros.
Well, I mean, I would love to go do it. But it's just like, it's untenable. And the reality is, like, I could take a weekend, drive to Oregon, and go film like 3 fish rooms and come back. And it might be like $100 in gas, $100 at a hotel, have some fun, get to drive around, travel a little bit, go see some people, do all that kind of stuff. And I might come back and I make videos about it, and it might make $200. And it's like, well, it's like broke even. Okay, I'll probably do that again.
Broke even and had a little bit of fun. And g'day, Sandy Doty, T-Bone. How are you, T-Bone? And who else did I see come in? Atkins, Mr. Ian Atkins, and his nature aquariums. Mm-hmm. Welcome. BJ Palmer's got a girl who's having a birthday, and they're giggling about Star Wars stuff. Hey, BJ Palmer, happy birthday to your birthday girl.
I think there was, as Craig says, so it's safe that you're not going to Peru. There was a point in time where I think Corey wanted me to go on the trip to Peru with him. So he wouldn't have been like going to Peru by himself, but he went with that was the trip that he went with JH Aquatics went, Dean went, and some other people. And since they had signed up, he was like, never mind, don't worry about it. And so, but the chances are I'm probably not going to go unless it's a sponsored video. Like if CChem or somebody wants me to go and film or something, like I'd have to get it sponsored. And I just think the reality in my mind and my process and stuff like that, like I think if somebody was going to sponsor like, $7,000 or $10,000 worth of travel or something, I think it would be cooler to go to Papua New Guinea, for instance. Personally, it would be funner for me to go to Vietnam and see some of the shrimp breeding facilities, some of the shrimp farmers. It would be funner to go to Thailand and see some of the shrimp farmers. There's a lot of places in Asia where you just can't get those shrimp anywhere else. It's where they're breeding them and stuff like that. So that's something that I would be more like personally invested in. Like if I wanted to go film out in the wild and that kind of stuff. I don't know if Peru would personally be the place that is like, oh my God, I got to go there, but whereas there are other locations that I would, that are like, oh wow, I wish I could. Yeah. I'd really want to go there. Peru's not that high up on my list. And plus, if I went to Peru, I'd want to climb Machu Picchu. So that is going to take.
There's half your time gone.
Well, yeah, that takes like at least 5 days with the proper acclimation. I know that like stupid tourists do it in 2 days. But a lot of those people have medical issues.
I was going to say they're the ones they're just there to say that they did it. They're not there to soak up Machu Picchu and take the time to absorb the impressive nature of that joint.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how funny is it too that Xanadu showed up? Nice name, by the way. Because I was having thoughts that clearly with your daughter being named after Olivia Newton-John, have you got her singing Xanadu yet?
I think she's named after Olivia Munn or Olivia.
Don't ruin my fantasy of Olivia Newton-John being her name.
It's probably Olivia Newton-John. She's coming out blonde, so she's either like, what's the other Olivia Wilde? Maybe.
They sound like too young a references for me to get. I only know Olivia Newton-John. Xanadu, something. I
remember her singing in those like tall white boots. Is that right?
Was that for Xanadu or was that for physical? Let's get physical. No, she was in Exodus.
Yeah, I think Let's Get Physical. That was like a leotard.
And massive hair.
Generally, yeah.
Hair only. I can only dream about. So, Prawny, how are you, Prawny? Welcome aboard.
Prawn a lot. Michael Bublé was asking, aside from COVID-19, right now especially, I wonder if political strife plays a part in travel aspirations. Not personally for me. COVID-19, the pandemic that's going on, is the reason I didn't travel at all this year, and I canceled all my travel plans. A lot of the places I was going to travel to canceled the thing I was going to go to anyhow. So it's like, I was going to go to Interzoo this year, the big giant convention. It's gigantic. That was canceled. It's postponed to next year. Now I don't know if I'm going to even try to go to Interzoo this coming year. We'll see. I think it's in June or something like that in Germany. So I don't know if I'm going to try to go to that. And then the other, oh crap, what's the name of it? Vivarium. Vivarium did like an online version this year. I think I definitely would like to go to Vivarium again. I had like reservations. I hadn't like fully booked the tickets yet for Vivarium, but yeah, I was definitely planning on going to that this year, which I think, yeah, that one was only about a month ago. So, but
Oh, I've just remembered.
I'm not so worried about the political strife stuff because pretty much every country you go to, like the people you encounter are people. Almost every single interaction that you have, no matter what country or state or wherever you go, people are people, and people are generally being good. People are people are good-hearted, man. Like that's how all this whole. That's why there's 8 billion people on the planet, right? They wouldn't be intersecting their genitals together so much if people weren't good. You know what I'm saying? Wouldn't have this many babies.
Prawny's arrival did just remind me too that when I was out and about yesterday in another town, I saw this girl with a very cool shirt. So Prawnalot's another Australian YouTuber, if you don't know Sir Prawnalot. He likes his shrimps and whatnot. And there was this girl wearing this T-shirt. It had a lobster doing these ones.
Yeah.
And it said Santa Claus with claws misspelt, yeah?
Santa's claws.
And I really, really, really wanted to go up and ask her if I could take a photo of that shirt and send it to my friend Sir Prawnalot. But I thought in a public place, a man who looks like this going up to a maybe 14 or 15-year-old girl asking to take a photo of her chest might be a little bit on the nose. So I locked it into my memory to talk to Prawny about.
Yeah.
So sorry, Prawny, no 14-year-old girl shirt picture for you.
Oh, Monica Lynn says no Peru happening for Corvus. Oh, here it is. Maybe Corey will pay. Ha 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 ha. Which, I mean, if Corey wants to sponsor people going to places, I mean, that's his business. I'm appreciative that the work I get from Corey, he has sponsored some stuff with my channel and everything, and I'm very appreciative of it. He's a very good friend too, minus any kind of like financial interaction. I would guaranteed I would still be friends with Corey. I value our friendship over anything else more than anything else. I don't have like a ton of friends that are sort of like behind the curtain like Corey is. Between the two of us, our relationship is we're friends. He has a business that needs help doing work and stuff. Like I drove, 2 hours up to work all day, like 11 hours. Then I drove home. It took 2 hours to drive home, ate dinner with my daughter, cleaned up the kitchen, did the dishes, came down here, live streamed to you guys, and then I'm going to go to bed and get up at 3:30 again.
I think that's
do it again tomorrow. So
key part of any business for a small person trying to start out is, if you're going to help out your mates and whatnot when you're starting out, you're doing everyone a good service, I think, really, aren't you?
Right.
Especially like he knows the quality of work you do. You're doing good work for him.
Well, and that's kind of the thing. That's kind of the thing. Like, I think a lot of people got pretty pissed at me because they were like, well, Corey paid for Joel to go to Germany. And it's like, but the reality was like Fluval paid for me to go to Germany. Like it wasn't Corey didn't pay out of pocket. Like we sold so many Fluval lights that the top sellers from each area got 2 tickets to go to Germany, to go to Interzoo. And like Corey's first 2 choices were his wife. She couldn't go. And Jimmy couldn't go. And this third choice was, hey, Joel, do you want to go? Because I need somebody to go with me. And so I ended up getting to go on that trip. So
that's not a bad third choice to be.
I mean, it was, yeah. I mean, I don't mind the reality of being like, hey, you're my third choice, but do you want to go? It's like, well, at the time I didn't work for Corey. I wasn't doing any stuff. I wasn't doing any work for Corey at this point. I'm basically the handyman for the co-op. So I fix all of the broken stuff. I go up and fix all of the broken stuff. I was up in attics, climbing around, fixing broken things all day today, drilling holes and stuff and carrying things around and, doing all that kind of crap. And, because he needs people to work for him. So it's like, that's one of those things. We also had two contractors helping like fill in to do extra work and stuff. Like on site today. And also I have family members that are contracted there helping do remodel stuff too. So it's pretty, there's a kind of all hands on deck stuff to get all the stuff done. And it's but yeah, Corey has a small business with not a lot of people to constantly do all of the stuff, and I'm sort of the stopgap guy that can show up with my tool truck and have all the tooling on hand to fix things and stuff. So yeah,
Jack of many trades, master of none.
A master of like a couple.
Yeah, master. Oh, the big talk. Hey.
Well, I've got the hours. I've got the hours to prove it on a couple of things, but nothing important.
That's right. What's the old master equation?
I'll make you a delicious chicken fricassee.
Is it 10,000 hours if anything makes you a master of it? Is that the rule?
That's the supposed rule, the rule of 10,000 hours, which if you think about it, if you work full time, 40 hours a week, it's 2,000 hours a year. So 2,000 hours a year, 5 years in a row doing a thing, you should have mastered it to some degree to be doing it to that extent by that point.
I think I sleep maybe 10,000 hours a year. I'm a master of sleep.
That's solid. I like that.
Hang on, that's a lot of hours of sleep per year, isn't it? 8 a night, 365 if I get 8.
It depends on like how hard you're sleeping though. You might each one might count as 5. Because of the mastery. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody who's like, I mean, they haven't even gone like AAA. They're just amateurs. They go to 1 for 1. But when you're as good as a pro expert, you'd be like a double doctorate at this point. You might get a 10 for 1. You know what I mean?
I forgot that
Sarah's making masks.
Well, she's getting a company to print some of her designs on the mask.
You got to get on that, dude. Mask up, bruh. Man, there were some guys installing some garage doors. The big rolling garage doors today. And those guys are on site wearing no masks. And I just straight up I don't understand the company. Like if you work for the company and they're letting you do that, like go out to sites and be like, yeah, whatever, dude, who cares? Yeah. I don't know, dude, just stay way the hell away from me. I don't know if those guys have been sick. I don't know what's going on.
I had to fix one of those yesterday in the rain and the wind.
A maskless human?
No. A motorized garage door. It had exploded out of its rails and fallen to the ground.
What a fucking nightmare.
I had a metal garage curtain for a little while.
Oh, solid.
And then in my g'day Anthony, how are you, bro? In my repairs, I'd erased all of the codes for the remotes, so I had to reprogram them. It was a comedy of errors, but it's fixed. It works.
That sounds like a solid day right there.
Solid. Certainly not a master of garage door repair just yet.
I've fixed quite a few in my day, but It's it's always a cluster. The stupid garage doors, man. They're always
Well, I
always
did
like
kind
out of
of,
whack.
I did kind of suggest that it might be due for a new one because it's at least 44 years old, and it goes up and down at least once almost every day.
That's a lot. That's
Mm.
pretty old.
And sometimes when you roll it up, it what do they call it? Ballooning, I think, where it doesn't roll nice and tight on the roll. So if it spills out, then the next time you drop it down,
Oh, you got
go,
the
whoop.
you got the nice roll door, right?
Yeah.
Rolls up. It doesn't go flat against the ceiling.
Well, I'd rather that design.
You would?
Well, part of me says yes because they seem to be less problematic, but then part of me says no because then you sort of eliminate part of your ceiling storage space,
Right.
or access to it anyway.
It's all effed, bruh.
Yeah. So how do we get off? Oh, that's right. Someone asked you about Peru. That's how we stopped talking about Star Wars.
Peru. Yeah.
We're such
Oh, so that most recent episode, the Bill Burr episode with I can never remember his name. I always want to say his name is Whitstock, but I don't think that's right. What was his character's name? All right, I'm looking it up. Don't worry. Don't stress yourself.
Yeah. I thought nearly had it until you said Woodstock or whatever you said.
Whitstock, but I don't think that's right.
Woodstock. It's similar to that. It starts with a W.
No, it's Mayfield. It's upside down W. Mayfield.
I always hear Mayfield as Wayfield.
So the first episode that he was in, I did not like.
There's a pretty good reason for that, I think, because his gang of people were all pretty shit characters. Like there wasn't a lot of meat to a lot of them.
It's true, but I didn't like the whole he's got the extra gun come up from behind his back thing.
Yeah.
Like his acting was so just like, I'm here acting,
That's Bill Burr's acting style. He just does Bill, no matter what role he does.
This episode, I felt like he at least, I think it has to do with like he was more comfortable on set. He is already established that he's on the show, right?
Little bit of familiarity with the process, you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe like with the process, but also like with the people on set, like where the cameras are, what the rhythm is, like kind of just all that stuff, and I think like if you're if you're on a movie and you're Bill Burr, right, who isn't a traditional actor, he's not an actor, he's a comedian that comes in to do these acting roles. But like, let's say, like the King of New York or whatever, the movie that he did with the kid from Saturday Night Live, Pete Davidson. Right? But like, I haven't seen that movie, but I've seen some of the takeaways from it, and he seems like he's so much more comfortable. It's because you have time to like acclimate. You're around the actors. You've been working your lines, you're kind of doing this stuff, you're working your blocking, you're figuring out like, what is this scene? Like what happens here? Like, it's really cliche, but like, what's my motivation? Right. Like all that kind of bullshit. But like, you have a real familiarity with the room, like with who's there and what's going on. And you get like way more comfortable. You kind of get used to like what it is that you're doing. And it's much more easy. It's much more easy. It's much easier to act in that situation when you're comfortable, right? Because this is where you're at. This is the table. The table's here. The chairs are where the chairs are. Like, it's sort of like if you just walk into somebody else's living room, right? The first time you've ever been there, and it's like just act totally normal and just go sit down and flop down on their couch and like know where the stuff is and whatever. You normally like. Like, hey, do I sit here? Is this cool? Do pretty basic stuff, but you're not comfortable like as if somebody was filming you in that room as if it's your living room, right? Because you'd be all weird, like, oh, I don't know where the stuff is. Like, oh, what's that? That's weird. That's new.
Clearly, that's why the best actors are on the big bucks, because of the skill that it takes to immerse yourself into a situation.
Well, I think it's that, but also like the schedule is much longer. You spend all this kind of time working your way up to doing it. Whereas I don't, I don't know if the Mandalorian is really that way. Like, I don't know if you are really spending that 6-week period getting ready to we're gonna get ready and practice.
When Bill was filming The King of Staten Island, being a regular listener to his podcast,
right?
It seemed months and months and months.
He was in New York for months and months and months, and he was constantly talking about he's like, and there was I think most of the time, like, his wife and daughter were there in New York, and I always get her name wrong, like Nia, is that right?
Yeah.
But like he was like complaining about how they were like, doing New York stuff, and he's off like working and then coming back, and then he's like trying to do sets in New York, but he can't really, you can't stay up and work on set at 6 a.m. and all that kind of stuff. But he was there. He was in New York for a long time. Like, you're there for 3 months at least, something like that, to do a real movie is 90 days of shooting and all that kind of stuff, so
they said
to get 2 hours, right? To get 2 hours of footage is all these people working for months and months and months, right? So,
and he did so well to keep it quiet that he was doing more Mandalorian, because he didn't even mention going to do some other job or anything like that over the last few months.
Well, I think the thing with that is that he lives in LA.
So he didn't really have to change his schedule or anything.
Yeah, I think it's more just like you're traveling to where Disney shoots. You're like commuting there, working, and then coming back.
G'day, Priscilla, Yeledge, and Omar.
The big giant spider's back over there. Woo!
Nice.
That's a big humdinger. That's a big one.
You hadn't seen him for a little while, had you? Now he's back.
This is a different one. That is not the same spider, but that is also a big one.
I was playing with my pet spiders last night.
You got to admit, like, they give you the heebs when it's kind of dark out. It's dark, and all of a sudden they're like some kind of movement over there. You don't know if it's a rat or a spider or a ghost.
That's another thing too. I think I've left my door open too many times at night. Now I've got mice nesting under my wardrobe. I'm gonna have to go and get myself a humane trap and catch my son snake food.
BJ brings up a good point though. Who is answering the call of Grogu? Because we have like one episode left.
I still don't think we're going to find that out this season.
I don't think it is.
I think that's
I don't think we're going to find it out. I think it's going to be just like a heavy, hardcore cliffhanger, because they're going to have to go head to head with Moff Gideon, right? That's kind of the only option. At the end, it's like,
I'm really
coming to get you, and I'm sending you a text message that I'm coming to get you. I'm coming to get you, sucker, right?
Because of that, indeed, we're going to be subject to a big cliffhanger, and it's definitely going to be involving Moff Gideon. I'm hoping that's where we get Bo-Katan back, because she has to fight him at some stage to get that dark saber back.
That can be the only option. It cannot make sense if somebody else gets the dark saber. I mean, you would have to do some really divergent stuff. I mean, I guess it's possible that they could, like, it could be just they fight Moff Gideon. Moff Gideon gets away next season, then you got to deal with the Bo-Katan stuff next season. But I mean, if they do another 32-minute episode here for the finale, I don't know how you fit anything in.
Yeah, no, I think we're definitely looking at least 45, 50 minutes to close this season.
I mean, it better be at least an hour-long episode because you got the stuff with Boba Fett. You don't know what's going on with Boba Fett. The chick the sharpshooter chick, I can't remember her name, the Asian...
Fennec?
Fennec, yeah.
Just remember Fox.
She has Fennec the Fox, that's right. She has the open-ended, like, what's going on there? You've got the Grogu has been abducted. Mando is taking off his helmet now to save Grogu. Like, Grogu is so important. He's given up all of his insane Children of the Watch cult following mayhem.
Well, he's exposed to two different Mandalorian mindsets now because of his chat with Bo-Katan and now his chat with Boba Fett. With Ahsoka.
Like
Exactly.
there was a lot of conversation with Ahsoka that wasn't, you know what I mean? It was alluded to that they had a lot of time to have conversations about things.
Yeah, so I think he's been exposed.
And Ahsoka has to know who and what Mandalorians are. That's not there cannot be a mystery to her to be full grown and just be like, I don't know what Mandalorians are. You know,
she fought with them in the Battle for Mandalore.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's like there's no way that she's just like in the dark, like and I'm not going to talk to anybody about nothing. You know, she's not of that character, right? She's the character of just blurting out nonsense all the time, right? So I can't imagine that they're just sitting around all night just, well, how about this weather? This weather is like weather, you know, because it's weather outside. It's delightful. Yeah, you know.
It brings up an interesting point too, that it was very, very awesome to see the seismic charges again, having not seen them since.
Oh my God. I literally made the noise the first time. I watched this episode twice. Already. The first time we watched it, Vicky, the TIE fighters come after Slave 1, and she goes, "Oh no!" She goes, "Oh no!" And I go, 2 TIE fighters against Slave 1? I don't think so. This is do not worry about this. This is going to be funny. This is going to be comic relief. And they go flying up, and they drops the seismic charge, and I literally went boing, you know, and like made the noise. I was like, get ready for this. Boing. It's like, yeah, dude. Don't. If your moral of the story is, if you have a TIE fighter, do not chase after Slave 1. You are screwed. Like, don't. You are so outmatched. I mean, I guess, you know, but you also have to think situationally, like those guys. I don't know. Maybe they're
the TIE fighter pilots. They're just so dedicated to their cause.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I don't know if they're that dedicated, though. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of do have to wonder, like, are they like that deeply dedicated? You know,
they're just brainwashed.
I mean, I guess maybe they're just brainwashed, like cultists.
Conditioned. Sorry, I said the wrong word. Gaslit.
That spider's come all the way across over here.
He wants a bite.
Yeah.
Ian, I believe Obi-Wan is scheduled for a March release. I believe filming and everything has started.
I think so. I think they either have the filming done or they're in process of it. But the Obi-Wan Kenobi stuff is going to come out, which is cool. But like, it's all backstory, though. You know what I mean? Like, it's fine.
I think the cool thing about the Obi-Wan series is that Hayden Christensen is in the series as Darth Vader.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, and I think, why would you bother bringing Hayden Christensen back to revive the role of Anakin Skywalker?
I don't know.
If we weren't going to see his face. So I reckon there's going to be a fair bit of flashbackery with the Obi-Wan and Anakin stuff.
I think that would be the main thing, is probably flashback stuff.
Hmm.
Because like if you have if you have Obi-Wan Kenobi and it's after Vader has already
Been killed. Yeah,
this giant spider is just moving around back here. It's creeping me out because I can hear its little feet on the concrete
Can you
wall.
give us a look at it? Is your camera movable? Or is
No,
it
my camera's like over there. I mean,
all right. Just
it's a big ass spider. Like I'm sure you've seen big spiders. It's not as big as yours, so don't worry. It's not a huntsman or anything crazy.
Not the first time I've heard that.
But I think like the thing is, like if you have Obi-Wan and it's after Vader, if you have Hayden Christensen, like the only reason to have him is to do the like flashback stuff. But the flashback stuff, like who cares? And maybe it'll be super good and contextual, and I'll be like, oh, I'll eat my words. But like we all know the outcome of all of that stuff. And I think that was my biggest issue with the prequel movies is not so much that like they were made for kids, they were cheesy or Jar Jar Binks or any of that kind of stuff. It's just that like we know the end. Like we know what happens, right? Like the Titanic movie, I never seen the Titanic movie. I boycotted that movie. My boycott is still standing strong. The only part that I've seen is the nude scene with the chick. That's the only part that I've ever seen, which I think it's pretty obvious why anybody would have watched that part of the movie. But what I'm saying is, who cares about the Titanic movie? We know the end. We know the end. Like, we know what happened. The boat sinks. It hits an iceberg. It sinks. The only thing that could happen is that you add a bunch of fluff to something that you already know the ending, right?
I'm a firm proponent of the ends justifies the means, you know. Sure, I know the end, but, you know, show me how to get there.
I don't believe that's what that means. I don't think that means what you think it means.
Already license.
I mean, I like it. I get it. But that's not really what that means.
I got to go and wrestle a crocodile real quick. I'll be back.
Crocodile. All right, let me answer some questions from the chat. GRB says, I saw a giant centipede at the local pet store recently. $70. These things grow over a foot long. I don't know why anybody would want one. They are kind of weird. That's for sure. That is for sure. Atkins, Hayden Christensen is in Obi-Wan. Yes, apparently he is in it. I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen it. It hasn't come out yet, so I can't really say, but it just sounds like they're going to do flashbacks and stuff like that, because we also know that his voice traditionally, as we know, as Vader, like Hayden Christensen wasn't the voice of Darth Vader, right? So, I mean, the best that you could do is I don't know if James Earl Jones could still do the voice. I mean, maybe he could, but realistically, the best that you could do is Aquaticy, who's one of our Fish Fam friends. He does the voice of Vader in the cartoon versions. Aquaticy, do you know Aquaticy?
Yeah, well, I've often wondered, because I have I've spoken to him before on a live or something, and I never got closure on which version of Vader he ever played, and I couldn't find his name in IMDb or anything.
I'd have to look up his credits to know exactly what it's in, but like, yeah, he does the Vader stuff.
Was it one of the Lego ones, or?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure which one, but
because when I couldn't find it in any I can't remember his actual name, but I know it or knew it. And I couldn't find it, and I thought, oh, maybe he's just maybe he dresses like Vader on the Hollywood strip or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there certainly is something official there from him that he did.
Yeah, I can remember. I have his real name and like email and stuff. I'll look him up for next week. I'll try to look him up. It'll take me a minute to look up his name and his IMDb and all that kind of stuff and see what it is. But I mean, he shows up at the conventions and signs for Vader and stuff. So I think he's the voice actor in some of the stuff. I don't know. I don't want to be misquoted. So let me.
You also
clarify by saying I'm not 100% sure.
You raised Taika Waititi before.
Mm-hmm.
He is on the job at the moment writing a Star Wars movie.
So he's writing a movie, right? Yeah. He's doing one of the 3 movies that the guys from Game of Thrones were going to do.
Shirked on, yeah. 2025 Taika. His movie will be coming out.
Because there's already another 3 movies planned to be made. Like they already have the funding and blah 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 and all that stuff lined out.
The next Star Wars movie will be Christmas 2023, I believe, and it will be called Rogue Squadrons.
That's right. I was looking at that. There was a whole bunch of stuff coming out, but I think I'm more interested in. Well, I think one of the things that I think personally, this is just on a personal taste kind of front. Like I don't personally enjoy the animated versions and all that stuff. Just because, and I was thinking about this a while ago. I was like, why don't I enjoy those as much? Like I should, because I love animated stuff. Like I love animations. I mean, if somebody had Akira right now, I would probably just go like, yeah, let's watch that. It's dope. I love it. But
I've got a moldy old VHS of it somewhere.
What's that?
I've got a moldy old VHS of it somewhere.
Good on you. That's good.
I wouldn't dare put it into a VCR nowadays because it would ruin the heads.
Right. But I think like you know, I'm more invested in a lot of the live action stuff that they're able to put together, and I think because Star Wars exists in my head as a live action thing, right? Because when I was a kid, there was the 3 movies, you know, and that was it, you know, and they were like, you know, when they came out and we could watch them at home, that was a big deal. You know what I mean?
Hey, that's a lie, because there was A New Hope, a radio drama in 19.
Yeah, there was also a Christmas special too, but that doesn't
the Christmas specials. I mean, that was great, but yeah, it was just malarkey. But there was a radio version of A New Hope that came out in 83. I'm gonna want to say,
right.
And it was a 7-hour listening experience, and right. they went into like there was pre-story before Princess Leia getting caught. There was all this other intricacy with characters. It was quite cool, actually. I listened to a podcast the other day where these guys had done a listen to it, and they were playing snippets from it. Mm-hmm. Mark Hamill actually played Luke Skywalker in it, but a lot of the other characters weren't played by their originals. Actually, I think Mark Hamill and Anthony Daniels might have been the only ones that were the original actors. And there was books. There was plenty of stuff out there in the 80s for the Star Wars world if you wanted to learn about it and what went on. But unfortunately, lots of the stuff back then turned into legend stuff and not actual canon storylines.
Uh-huh. Well, it's like Xanadu says, what about Ghost in the Shell? I love Ghost in the Shell, animated, not the other one, as you're saying. And I love Ghost in the Shell, the graphic novels, the animated Ghost in the Shell. Like, I love that. I think the Ghost in the Shell movie would have been... I think it would have been better had they cast somebody other than Scarlett Johansson. To be brutally honest, if they would have cast somebody other than Scarlett Johansson, and it's not that I have a problem with Scarlett Johansson. She's very attractive. She's very talented. She's not. She's not the right actress. Like, it's just not. No, like and it doesn't have anything to do with like, does she have to be an Asian or anything like that? Like, I don't really care about any of that part of it. She's just completely the wrong actress for the role, like, but it's a perfect example of what I was talking about earlier, where you have like a $200 million budget, right? And they have to get somebody with a big name like Scarlett Johansson to play the lead. Otherwise, people aren't going to show up and see it.
Do you reckon
And
people
like,
do they even try and come in under budget anymore? It's like,
no, I don't know. They spend it all.
Spend it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like back in the day, it used to be cool if you're in a business to try and come in under budget. Now you want a little bit of a surplus. Yeah, with regard,
I think it really boils down to like, if they give you $200 million, you try to spend it and make. Supposedly, I think that they would say we're trying to make the best thing we possibly can, but it's more just kind of like, how do we fill it out to exist and cost this much money? Basically, I think more than anything.
Lol, thirsty. I had those books too. They were so cool. It's more watching pictures though than reading books. Yeah.
Zipgun says Hollywood accounting is a racket, but I'll tell you this much: I would not mind being, a key grip, on set,
with something with a Hollywood budget.
Yeah, I mean, I have a buddy whose dad was in the Screen Actors Guild union as an electrician. And the reality is, his dad was gone for like 2 months at a time. Then he'd be back for a couple months. Then he'd be gone for a couple months. Then he'd be back for a couple months, which is hard on anybody. It's hard on anybody's family for sure. But, he made a really, 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 really good living, doing it. And, I think that's the reality, is that like there are a lot of union jobs and there are a lot of good people working in the industry. And I don't necessarily think it's that much of a racket. I think that it boils down to like they need to economize the production to some degree to be able to keep up with the pace, to be able to put out the quality. And I think that the technology is there now. Whereas if you go back 20 years ago, just to set up a rigging and all the safety crew and all of that equipment that you need to shoot a car chase scene, right? Like, let's say you're shooting a Die Hard movie. There's going to be car chase scenes. You're going to have safety crews. You're going to have actual cars. You're going to have stunt drivers. You're going to have all of this crap you have to set up on the cars and make sure that it's safe and actually drive the car 50 miles an hour around a corner and blow out. And then it turns out that it's rained, and it's supposed to be sunny in the shot. So you have to wait and wait and wait until it's sunny again. You have to wait like 3 days and everybody has to get paid while they're waiting. Whereas nowadays, like if you were going to shoot that car shot, you get 2 DPs, you get 2 focus guys, they get 2 drones. They can drive all of the interior car shots now via drone. You just drive the drone and film it going down the road, from the point of view, like as if the car is doing that. Yeah. Then you can shoot practicals just on a lot of people in the car driving around inside a warehouse and get all of those crazy shots with people doing their lines inside the car. You can green screen everything in the back and it actually looks real. And then you end up with the Fast and the Furious and you end up with the Fast and Furious 9, right? They just keep making those movies and they make a couple $100 million every single time. So, and you can still afford to pay The Rock because they've streamlined the production to a point where it can work. But I think that the biggest thing is to maintain, a lot of the union representation and stuff like that, I think that is what kind of needs to be expanded upon as things kind of, continue to get better and better and better. But I don't know. I mean, if you went back 30, 40 years ago, I would be like, yeah, it's a big time racket. There's a lot of screwball stuff going on. But nowadays, I would say it's just a lot more.
Nowadays,
they just want to do these big productions.
And there's so much.
And the advertising budget is like $100 million.
There's so much red tape. They've got no option but to comply and to try and make everything appropriate.
So what do you think about the newest episode? So we know that. So, all right, the takeaway from the newest episode, right, is like you've got the Boba Fett storyline that has to sort of make sense moving forward, right?
Yeah.
I think you have to have the Mandalorian and Grogu storyline move forward to some degree. Something has to happen with Moff Gideon, right?
Well, someone did say in the chat before that Moff Gideon is scheduled in the cast for season 3, so I don't think Moff Gideon is going to die this week.
But I'm saying that like something has to. I'm just saying like who in the episode like something has to happen with, because Bo-Katan, like nothing really has to happen with her, right? I mean, they literally can just push her off into season 3.
Yeah, true. They can save the Darksaber battle for season 3.
All of the other superfluous characters.
G'day, ugly man.
There's not a whole lot that you have to do. Like, you don't have to do anything with Mayfield because he's literally like you literally just pick him up in season 3.
Part of me thought he was going to join the crew and just
what I don't understand is why he didn't join the crew. They just left him on the planet and just like, here you go, you got some shoes and you're on a strange planet. See you later. Like, what is he supposed to become, a jungle man and like figure out how to live off the land with his bare hands or something? All of a sudden,
it kind of seemed to be his decision to walk off, whereas I was kind of expecting him to go, hey, come on, let's be a gang. I miss my old gang. Let's start a new one. But potentially the beef between him and Mando might have, might be a stepping gap. I don't know what the word is.
I don't know, man. I felt like they did a lot of relationship building between the two of them in that episode. It's like, you literally sit there with Mayfield where he's like lamenting the fact that, he's come face to face with the guy who made the call, what has tormented him this whole entire time. Right. Because he's obviously like 50 years old. So, I mean, this like, and when did that happen? What is it called when they burned the planets, whatever the hell that was called? There's some name for it. The event when it's like the first version of the Death Star, basically, right? It's like the satellites that they shot down, the Phoenix or something like that. Like, I forget the name for it, but it's like the extermination events that they did. It's like the first ones that they were doing as the Empire, right? And they just they just had mass casualties on both sides. They just did it to themselves. They were like, whatever, like we're just evil. Like, it's what we do. It kind of just proved how bad they were. Operation Cinder. There we go. Yeah, I was thinking it was Phoenix or something like that. Cinder. Yeah. But he's sitting there face to face with the guy who clearly this whole time he's just been like, F this guy, right? Like, that's the dude that killed everybody that I knew. That's the guy that killed all of those people, where he came to the realization that people are people, right? That like they're all just, if you're born on Alderaan, you think one thing. If you're born on, Corellia, you believe a different thing, right? And if you're born on Mandalore, you believe the Mandalore thing, right? And he's, the whatever that time period is, 20 years, probably something like that, right? he's come to the conclusion of like that whole thing was all just evil, and you're just trying to do the best you can to try and get by. And the point where he was on the heist with Din Djarin, right, the first time, is when he really saw the consequences of his own personal choices come to a conclusion where it's like, oh, you continued to make these bad decisions. Now it's time to, like, at the very least, come clean about it with yourself at least, and try to move on. And that's why he that's why he shot that's why he shot the guy, and it's also kind of a playback to Han Solo shot first,
Yeah, definitely. That scene where they were first meeting up with Mayfield, and Boba Fett first came out, and Bill Burr sort of shit his pants a little bit, and then the real Mandalorian came out, and he had a that stunned look on his face, like he shit his pants somewhat. It was good. I liked that bit. That was great.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing, is that, like, it's like putting these people into a context that that gives them, like, a real it brings kind of their character to life, that they actually have, obviously they're humanoid, so they're not really necessarily humans, but, like, it brings the humanity to the character. And that whole situation where, like, the face scan thing, I think, was kind of a stroke of brilliance, because it ties in the Empire with just how much they are, like, fascistic Nazis, right?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't scan your face to, like, know who you are. It just scans your face to find out if you're, like, a human. That's it. That's all it was basically scanning for, because it didn't go, like, recognize your face as Sergeant Class J.K. Din Djarin or Mark II Boogaloo. I don't know. It didn't say who he was. It just, like, humanoid. All right.
Good enough.
That's one of us. It's all good, buddy. Here you go. Here's all the information you were looking for, and it, like, kind of really, it kind of set that, it, like, maybe if you weren't actively questioning the face scan thing at the time, maybe you didn't think about it. But I think that was it was kind of a stroke of genius, I think, to get Din Djarin to take his helmet off, to create a moment where he had to do it, right? And then, if you think about it a little bit, you kind of start to realize the context of the Empire wears snappy Nazi uniforms, right? Mm-hmm. They look like Art Deco style Nazi uniforms. I mean, they really do. They're very stylized, just like
they were
the
definitely
Third Reich,
inspired by that.
And all of the bad guys are straight up, like, Aryan awful dudes, right? I mean, they're all creepy, skinny white guys that are like, oh, you better go attack, and so I think that was kind of the weird tie-in, because, and I honestly, the first time I saw that episode, it kind of stuck with me. I was thinking about, like, why would you do the face scan thing? Because it didn't identify him as a person. Like, it didn't identify him specifically as, like,
one of us.
Oh, you're this guy. This is your rank. Oh, okay. Like, it literally was just like, oh, are you, like, a white dude? Okay.
Yeah.
Like, cool.
You don't have an octopus face. You're okay.
Oh, here's the location of the ship that you're looking for, sir. You don't have a blue face. Okay. It's all right. You're like, oh, God. Ew. But that whole scene right there really, I don't know. I think it really sort of cemented, like, what I thought would be their relationship moving forward, right? Which was, like, even though
human that's seen him now.
Well, it's like, even though in the moment of, Din Djarin's making this, what would realistically be a huge sacrifice, right? In his ethos,
Ethos, yeah.
it's a huge sacrifice to do what he was doing. And
But
Mayfield is there, and Mayfield was able to think about Din Djarin and not only himself, right? Is that a stretch? Does that feel like a stretch? But that's kind of my takeaway, was like, it really, in my opinion, it cemented this sort of, and for lack of a better term, like the humanity and the human bond between the two, of going like, oh, I'm all in with you. I will do what I got to do to like help at least make this situation right with what I can, or like with whatever sacrifice I'm willing to make. Like, because you can't really take that shot and think that like, we're going to make it out of here because of course, we're the main characters. We make it out, right? You can't think of it in the way of like as the viewer, but you'd have to think of it like as the person in the situation. Like, you would expect all these other armed soldiers around here are going to shoot you, and you're going to not make it out of here.
Well, I think also it's part of the development of his learning that not all Mandalorians share that same thing. So he's sort of maybe questioning his own Mandalorian rules.
Right.
So even though, yes, when he took his mask off, it was like Priscilla says, the pain in his face when he had to take the helmet off was acting at its perfection. He knew not only did he have to do it for the sake of Grogu, but in my mind, he's learning a lot more about the Mandalorian culture, that there's more ways that Mandalorians think. There is not only one way, that he's slowly understanding that, if he takes his hat off, it's not going to be the end of the world.
Right. I think that there's something to I think we'll probably learn that there was, and I don't know, I mentioned this earlier, but I think we're probably going to have some backfill into the time that he spent with Ahsoka Tano, right? Or Ahsoka Tano, right?
Possibly.
Like, I think that there has to be more than just the conversation that we
we
saw
mere moments of their time together. Surely,
I think that there has to be more depth to the explanation of what happened there.
Yeah,
and
she can have a great deal of insight onto the Mandalorians for him.
Well, then, like, when the Razor Crest gets blown up, like, he's with Boba Fett. Like, there is no, oh, I'm just going to get in my ship and go fly around and I'll meet you there, Like, they're literally in that ship, and the traveling in space, they keep acting like it takes 5 minutes. Like, it doesn't take 5 minutes to go from here to there. And a lot of crap happens when you're moving at extremely high speed, which continually makes me wonder, like, you're just going from here to there, but it's really far away and you're going fast, and everywhere else is, you know what I'm saying? Like, the relative theory of relativity says, if you're traveling at that speed, everyone else is traveling at regular speed, but you're slowed down. So, I mean, there are some aspects to the fact that, like, I think that it would do the show a real service if they took time to add in the shots where it shows like this long amount of time spent together. You know what I mean? Because I mean, you're in Boba Fett's ship with Boba Fett. Like, maybe you don't know Boba Fett at all, but at the very least, you would be in his ship with him for, I don't know, 60 hours, 100 hours, 5 days, 10 days. I don't know how long it takes to fly from wherever to wherever, but it's definitely not 5 minutes.
No.
And,
yeah. Can't find the spider now. He's in trouble.
I don't know. I heard a weird noise. There's like this. I have like a bin of plastic stuff down here, and every once in a while, a big spider like walks across the plastic in the container down there. I'm like, whoa. Makes a funny noise. I can hear it. But you know, so you would have to, like, let's say you went all your life not really knowing very many other of your kind or whatever, and then you meet this guy who's Boba Fett, who's clearly old. He's scarred. You found his armor. You recovered his armor. He showed you, here's the history of my family in his armor, right? So we know that they have some kind of documentation and stuff, but you're going to be flying around on Slave One for however long and like not talk to him at all and be like,
Chat.
hey, how did you, who are you? Like, what? Can you tell me some of your history or something about yourself or something? You know, like, I'm a Mandalorian, you're a Mandalorian, we're both foundlings. Like, we at least have that in common. Something. You know, so I think it would do the show like a lot of justice for the average person to at least understand that there would have to be some serious discussion. You meet Ahsoka, right? His opinion of them was, I got to find these wizards, right? I got to find these people that use magic because he has Grogu, right? Like, he doesn't know who the Jedi are. At the very least, did they sit there and go like, who are the Jedi? Like, what are you guys? What do you do? Where'd you get? You have a sword that's like lasers. Because he's never seen that before, or maybe he has. I don't know, but there's a lot that you would have. The average person would have a lot of questions of what the hell was going on, and Din Djarin, as an adept person that obviously can karate chop and kick and punch and shoot his way out of just about anything, sitting there and at least
he's got to have a lot of questions,
because like he speaks fluent Sand people, right?
He's got a lot of talents.
He speaks the fluently to the Sand people, right? Clearly, he's at least ancillarily interested in the Sand people to the point of learning their culture and their language and their habits and their what they eat. Like, so I just can't imagine that you would sit there all night like, hey, wizard,
got a smoke?
You fart? So what's the deal? Like, no? Okay. You know, you figure like he would at least be asking like, okay, what's the history of you guys? Like, what?
I think that therein is the beauty of the Star Wars universe, is that all of those little bits and pieces that get left out to tell the main storyline have opened the universe up for much more storytelling. Because, you know, we're all left saying, oh, well, what happened in this between here and here? And there's a whole animation series about it. What was this storyline? Oh, there's 4 seasons of an animation about that. Or there's a book about that. There's all of those little bits that are left out just to keep a movie flowing leaves the, you know, the dedicated fan wanting to know more. And I think that's Mando. Mando is a dedicated fan of the universe that he's growing up in. He wants to know stuff.
Yeah, and that's what I think. And I don't think that he would be, you know, because the representation right now is that he's just sort of like kind of not necessarily fumbling around, like that's not the right word, but like naive. Like he just has this kind of naivete of not really knowing, like, oh, well, are those the bad guys? Like, I guess I'll shoot them. They get shot now, you know. And but he seems like a person that would be, well, he seems like a character that is extremely intrigued to at least know all the stuff that's going on. And he obviously, like with the Sand people, like he clearly respects other species, other cultures, other dialects, like, and I really doubt that it only has basis in the like bounty hunter side of what it is that he's supposed to be doing, because like you wouldn't take the time to like hang out with the sand people just because you need them to get a thing done, right?
Oh, wouldn't that be a awesome anticlimax to season 2, where instead of continuing the story, we do a flashback to Mando's experience with the Sand People, how he learnt
Right.
Sand People stuff.
Like it's just
Let's
like
divert
the end,
from the main story.
end of season, the end of season 2 is nothing but backstory, just filling in like experiences, and that's it. Yeah.
Just because everyone wanted to know how Mando knew how to speak Sand People. So yeah, here we'll show you, and we'll ruin the end of season 2.
It's like a 3-hour epic of him just like you know, and they're like, it's just them like doing all the crazy noises and all that stuff, and like him trying to look up their skirt and see what's under there, like, hey, yeah, and it's all playing just like you know, Benny Hill music and stuff, and yeah, I don't know. That would be funny. That would be Taika Waititi right there. If that was to happen, that would be Taika Waititi. He's the only one that could pull that off. But yeah, I mean, I have to admit, I'm very excited about the prospect of the filling in, you know, all the peripheral stuff, because this is basically just peripheral story. Because right now, Luke Skywalker is like looking for Jedi and doing all that stuff because the Death Star is blown up. And
well, that takes us back to someone's earlier question about which Jedi are coming. But didn't we sort of went over our options last week, didn't we? Or the week before?
I think Mace Windu is one.
I think we're both sold on Mace, aren't we?
Yeah, I think Mace Windu is going to show up. I mean, first of all, the actor, there's no reason to not have Samuel L. Jackson show up.
And there's no reason why Samuel Jackson would say no.
Yeah. I mean, there's no way that he would be like, nah, I'm too busy for that or whatever. Like, he would literally be like
online gambling, for Christ's sake, because if he's not going to.
I mean, how many movies has he been in with Jon Favreau? 8?
Oh yeah, that's right. Because he's Nick. What's his name? Fury, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, like, John has his phone number. Yeah. You know, like he doesn't need the Captain Marvel pager. He doesn't need that. He just has his number. Like, he just calls him on his phone.
I would imagine that Favreau's probably got pictures of Samuel in compromising positions as well.
Yeah, probably. They've probably had some fun nights. Mace Windu seems like the only character that I've seen in, I think, in the Legends. I don't know. It's hard for me to really tell like half of all of the crazy stuff I know about Star Wars, whether it's accurate or if it's from like a different comic book or whatever.
Well, you're remember I think it was 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about Yaddle, and your story about Yaddle's death is apparently from Legends and not canon. So it's still in the canon storyline.
Right.
I believe it is still unknown as to where Yaddle is. So Yaddle may be a potential.
That wouldn't make any sense because...
but it's still potential because we don't know how Yaddle died. Yaddle just disappeared from the
right,
Jedi
but
between 1 and 2.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I Yaddle seems long gone because Yoda would know what the hell is going on. Yoda would know. Okay, like we wouldn't know because we're stupid people, right? and we only know what we're told. That's it. But Yoda would know if Yaddle was still around. And he wouldn't just be like operating the Jedi Council like, well, yeah, there's another one of me that's like super powerful and she's awesome and she has a whole bunch of skills that I don't have and like all that.
Baby.
But I'm just gonna not bother because at that time, leading up with the Jedi Council and all that stuff, there's no reason that he wouldn't have been like, oh, we need help, right?
Yeah.
Let me call the only other one of me that we know about, and use the spirit mind crazy nonsense because that's supposedly where he learned the ghost force, the force ghost thing from, right? And he supposedly had taught it to Mace Windu, right? That's supposedly the last person that he was able to have possibly taught it to.
Yes, I know they spoke about it, but we never saw him actually teaching him, but a lot of stuff we didn't see.
So if
totally agree with the ugly man that I think
that's the thing is that like Yoda can come back as a force ghost, right? Mace Windu could potentially be a force ghost later on if there's an actual conclusion to his storyline that sort of portrays that, right? But I'm not sure how you get to from point A to point B without Mace Windu coming back at some point in time to like teach it to other people, because I don't know how you bridge the gap between Yoda and Luke Skywalker figuring out how to become a force ghost. Like there has to be some kind of somebody teach it in between there for it to really for it to come together in the storyline. Otherwise it's just sort of hanging out there that like maybe you become a Jedi, you just learn it and you just intrinsically figure it out. Otherwise, like it doesn't make any sense that Luke Skywalker would know how to become a force ghost at the end, right? Oh, so spoiler alert on some really old movies that have already been out for years and years, but yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I think Mace Windu with like a robot arm and like all scarred up, just like Boba Fett, is a likely candidate, but I don't know.
Well, you've got to imagine that they're going to bring, like, it has to be a mainstream character. Like a couple of the pardon me, a couple of the ones that I mentioned as possibles are only from novels,
right?
So
I think that's the thing, is that I can't think of another character that isn't dead, right, at this point, that would be able to bridge the gap somehow.
Yeah,
you know?
It's sort of got to be a mainstream character, and I think there'd be too much kickback if it was Luke, because Luke's obviously very busy doing his stuff.
And you'd have to like de-age him a lot.
Yeah, they can do that with computers nowadays. G'day, Randy Savage Beans.
I mean, they can do that, but it's incredibly difficult, and it doesn't do justice. It doesn't aid the story at all.
Yeah, and I think
it doesn't aid the story at all, because then it just turns into the Skywalker, which we already have 9 movies about the Skywalkers, right?
Yeah, I think that they're doing their very best to stay away from the Skywalker storylines.
Yeah, because it doesn't make any sense to be in this giant galaxy and constantly just coming back to the exact same. We're back to Luke and Leia again, you know, like
another one.
As a company, that's a losing proposition too.
Because too many people after the last 3 movies, they're pissed off with the Skywalker storyline. They don't want to know about.
Well, it's not so much. I don't even know that people are pissed off. It's just that, like, as a company, you're gambling a lot of money on. You know, Carrie Fisher died before you could make the last one. Right? They had to redo the whole last of the movie 9, right?
Yeah,
because she passed away.
a lot of it,
You
yeah.
know,
CGI are in and stuff.
you know, if you try to go back to Han Solo, I mean, you know, as much as I love Harrison Ford, like he's gonna pass away soon. Like, so what do? Try to de-age that guy? He's like 80 years old or something. I don't know how old he is, but he's old.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing that happened with Professor X, right? Like they started getting freaked out that Patrick Stewart was going to pass away. You couldn't keep gambling with, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars to make those movies when you're like, one of our main character lead actors might just pass away of natural causes. Didn't the original Dumbledore pass away? Is that what happened? Or was it just a contract thing?
No idea.
Like the Harry Potter movies? Because there's 2 different Dumbledores, right?
Is there?
I think there is. I don't know.
Harry Potter's out of my wheelhouse.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that, like,
was it Kyle Katarn thirsty? Kyle Katarn? He was a Jedi in one of the Jedi games. I don't know whether he ever died. Where's Kyle Katarn?
But nobody knows who that. None of the average people know who that is. Average people know who Samuel L. Jackson is, and they know that he was one of the Jedi guys. That, you know, you have to think of it from terms of like the Disney selling standpoint. That's just how, you know, from the standpoint of selling it as a marketable thing. You know, Din Djarin's played by the guy who killed the Mountain in Game of Thrones.
Who was that? No, that's Din Djarin.
Din Djarin, Pedro Pascal. So in the Game of Thrones, there's the Mountain, who is this giant knight,
Norwegian
who basically kills everybody, right? And a fan favorite character played by Pedro Pascal was like the Prince of Dorne, right? And he had to battle the Mountain so that what's his name wasn't executed. It was a what do you call that when you fight for your right to not be executed by the court, whatever the hell that's called. And the Mountain is undefeated. He's played by
you forgot to say Game of Thrones spoilers.
Well, he's played by Bjorn Bjornsson, like the biggest man in the world, the strongest man in the world. That guy, he's like 8 feet tall. He's huge. Anyhow, the Prince of Dorne kills the Mountain, but then the Mountain, in his dying moments, like crushes his skull, like grabs a hold of his skull and pops his head, and then the Mountain dies. They both died. And but yeah, Pedro Pascal played one of the favorite guys from the early part of the Game of Thrones. So, you know, that's also, you know, like they're not gambling. They're not gambling with the commodity that they have, right? And I personally think Mace Windu is probably, and because of all those factors, like the Samuel L. Jackson factor, the Disney factor, the average person connecting with what's going on, is, I think, an important factor tie-in thing. And from the first season, you saw that the baby Yoda was the biggest thing that sold the show, right? And it sold the show before the show even came on.
Big time.
And I think somebody like Samuel L. Jackson showing up in the finale is something that would sell the show without them having to sell the show. You know what I'm saying? Like it creates a stir. That's a pretty big deal. And, you know, it's like, you know, like bringing in, what's her name to play Ashoka. Like that's a big deal too, right? The Dawson, Rosario Dawson, the Dawson.
I think
like that's a big deal. It's Cory Booker's girlfriend, you know, like
the success of the show is just, it's become a lure to these big celebrities who can't necessarily go out and do movies at the moment.
Well, I don't even think it's that. I think it's just that it's accessible, right? But it's also like Bill Burr is not even a fan at all, not even remotely. And they're like, "Hey, you want to play this bit part in Star Wars?" And he even admittedly on his podcast was like, "Star Wars? What? I don't like Star Wars. It's stupid space." And but I think Jon Favreau convinced him. I'm not sure who it was, but somebody convinced him to come play a part, and then now he's like in love with it a year later,
Yeah.
So
and he's got a year or two of his house paid off thanks to The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to the which Jedi it might be, based on I don't know if you saw the news with Kathleen Kennedy was at some thing and she made like 10 new announcements involving upcoming TV shows and movies and all of this sort of stuff.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Going, well, a lot of people speculate that Ezra Bridger might be the Jedi that turns up for
Right.
Baby Yoda, Grogu, if you will. But I have a feeling that Ezra Bridger and what's her name from Sabine Wren from Rebels, because Ahsoka's getting her own TV show as well. I think her storyline and Sabine's and Ezra and Thrawn, I think, are all going to tie into Ahsoka's show. So I don't think they'd spoil Ezra's advancement in that show by bringing him into The Mandalorian. I think we're either going to be looking at a very established character like Mace Windu, and indeed, like Ugly Man says, I'd probably be interested in seeing Chris Rock have a crack at Mace Windu.
Well, here's the thing. Like, let's say you have Mace Windu come, right? And Mace Windu would be the bridge between Thrawn, Ashoka, Ezra, like introducing all of that, right? I think a character like Mace Windu with an actor like Samuel L. Jackson would bridge the interest for the average person for that to make sense.
Yeah,
not only from a storyline, right, but also from a commodity standpoint, like from the business side of it, right? That if you just introduce all of these characters and none of them are a famous person, right, it would be extremely difficult to sell the show to the average yokel, right? That's just like, I don't know, man. There's like a spaceship with the fucking guy, but I like Bill Burr, man. He cracks me up. He made fun of the ladies, and like, I don't know, man. I kind of like that show. It was nuts, man. That stuff was blowing up. And, things are going on. Maybe I'll go watch the rest of it.
Yeah, that's a valid point.
So, that's the thing. Like, it's one thing to think about it like from a Lucasfilms perspective, where George Lucas is all like a weird creep and is like, no, I gotta make my story the way that I gotta make my story, and he's kind of passed on the torch, right?
One of my favorite things on this planet is when people do George Lucas impersonations. That was a good one. I liked it. I really enjoyed it.
But but I think like from a business standpoint, I think something like that to introduce these other characters to the average viewer, like, like nobody knows who Thrawn is. The average people would, it's a blue guy. I don't know. Right.
Yeah.
So like mentioning
Rebels right now, you need to watch Rebels.
Who, me?
Everyone who doesn't know who Thrawn is.
Well, I'm just saying that like the average person can't really like waltz in and go, well, there's a blue guy. All right, man. I guess that's it. That's crazy in this world. But the reality is like that's kind of the tie-in to the Empire sort of being the Third Reich, because he's the only non-human to ever reach like super commander, super duper elite commander man level.
So kids got to have skills.
Commandant.
Kids got to have skills if they let a blue dude into the Reich.
Right. Because the face scan doesn't even work whenever he tries to go over and get his face scanned. And like, you got to be pretty good. Like, if you've got no information to go off of and to be able to excel that way, and when even the password doesn't work, your face.
I mean, it was the old password as well.
His password was password. I think it was 1, 2,
ABC 1, 2, 3,
3, 4. Same as my luggage.
It works. It's online every day. The old 1, 2, 3, 4.
But yeah, I don't know.
When Randy Savage Bean's bringing up Dr. Manhattan, I will confess that hearing Joe Rogan talk about Dr. Manhattan in the Watchmen series, because Joe Rogan went on about the size of Dr. Manhattan's hog.
Right.
And I was like, I watched Watchmen. I mean, it's a great show, but to be honest, most of the time I spent watching that show, I was like, when's Dr. Manhattan turning up and showing me his dick?
Right.
And then when it finally showed up, it's like, Joe Rogan, I'm so disappointed with you. You oversold this penis.
Right.
But
I mean, it was a healthy penis. It wasn't all shriveled and sad, but I mean, it wasn't like mind bending or anything. I don't know. I think that
it exposed maybe what Joe Rogan might be working with.
it might be an exposure. Well, I mean, I don't know how many drugs that guy has taken to physically perform. I'm not sure what could be going on there.
The dude who performed Dr. Manhattan.
No, yeah. Joe Rogan.
Ah, right.
He takes all sorts of experimental crazy stuff so he can karate kick a bag better. I get it. I'll respect the guy. I respect the guy, but I also respect the fact that when he talks and he says that he's a dumb idiot, he's probably pretty accurate.
And I mean, if the experimental drugs send him sideways, then he can afford to get himself fixed, can't he?
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's just right. Yeah, let me take. I'm going to take 100,000 times my amount of vitamin A because Dr. Rhonda Patrick said that it was good. You're like, do we know if she's accredited? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe she is. Maybe she isn't. I don't know.
She might have an online diploma.
University of Phoenix. Yeah, $50 and a printer.
Dirty.
All right, man. It is my bedtime. I love you to death. I gotta go.
All right, you too. Sorry you got here so late, dirty old farmhand. You missed all the fish talk. We talked so much fish earlier.
Yeah, we did the fish.
We did at least 6 minutes on fish, didn't we?
We covered some fish stuff.
Actually, we did that Peru stuff. That went on for a fair while, so that was pretty good. We started talking Star Wars, then we talked Peru, and then we got back to Star Wars.
It's a rambling nonsense. I wanted to get our Star Wars talk out of the way, and now we're 2.5 hours in. So,
crikey, we are too.
At least my thing says that.
Yeah, 2:33. Yeah, I got to go and work out what to cook for dinner and stuff, and probably go to the shops. Already
mask up, buddy.
No,
double mask that thing.
Don't have to do masks here.
Oh yeah, hit that like button. Oh yeah,
that's a good idea. We never ask people to do that, do we?
A lot of people hit the dislike. They got mad today. Well, people got mad today. We have 4 dislikes already. Come on now.
That's all right.
We could hit 10. We could hit 10. All right, buddy. I gotta go.
All right, Jolie, thank you again.
Oh, bye-bye.
I'll see you next week. Maybe,
Yeah.
probably.
Probably.
All right, you, Mob. Oh, it is. I don't know. You can probably hear it through the microphone. The rain has just rolled in, super big and heavy. So I might take this opportunity to toddle off. What happens to a tank in space? You don't need a tank in space because the water just floats away unless you've got artificial gravity, which I don't have humans invented artificial gravity without orbital motion yet. I don't think so. So the sound of the rain does come through the microphone, does it, Tropico? Whoops. Yeah. Yeah, looks like we're in for another wet afternoon. Yeah, thirsty, plenty of flooding. None directly affecting me, except for yesterday when I had to drive over to Lismore. There was a flooded road, so I had to take a bypass. But when I was coming home, that was clear, so the quicker route was available. But yeah, lots of water everywhere. Creeks are up, getting a good flush out. I would imagine that my water tanks are full by now. Hope so, because I've got to seriously do some water changes on my tanks. But yeah, I mean it's been quite. The first couple of days were quite pleasant because the temperature was way down. It was nice and chilly, windy and cool. But then about 3 days in, it would rain, and then the sun would come out, and it would get stinky, hot, sweaty, humid nonsense. So yeah, that's always the downside with lots of rain is the humidity afterwards. But yeah, I'll still take the water and a drop in temperature. And then next week will be probably stinky, hot, and crazy sweaty again. All right, everyone. I will chuff off now. Thanks heaps for hanging out and chatting. I know, most people turn up for the fish chat and stuff, but we do kind of go off on the tangents of the Star Wars stuff. But, lots of people love the Star Wars too. So we'll keep doing it. We'll probably be stuck for stuff to talk about when The Mandalorian finishes, but I guarantee you we'll find more Star Warsy kind of nonsense to talk about. All right, everyone. Jace, good to see you again, mate. I don't know whether you were here the whole time or lurking or what. Always good. BJ Palmer, always good to have you and your Star Wars clan listening and watching. Happy birthday again to your birthday girl. Hope she heard it the first or second time. Hope you have good birthday fun. GRB, thanks again for the links, brother. Always good. Keep them coming. Everyone else, Thirsty, good to see you back, mate. Haven't seen you for a while. My man, bam, bam, Tropico, Ugly Man, S, everyone else. Zip Gun, welcome. It's good to see you, new person. Any of the other new people still about, welcome. Hang around, come back. Randy Savage, one day soon. I mean, all the cow poo's too wet at the moment to have a peat fire, but I'm still hanging on to my promise to you, Randy Savage, that we will have a peat fire coming up soon. And yeah, take it easy, everyone. Have a good night, and we'll see you hopefully next week. I think my schedule is open next Wednesday, but we will see. Blah, 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 blah. Everyone, look after yourselves and each other. See yous when I'm looking at yous.